72 hours. That is the window the cosmos just opened. Not the eclipse itself, which lasted roughly 70 minutes. Not the buildup, which we tracked together through the entire week. The window. The 72 hours after a total lunar eclipse are, in many ways, more consequential than the eclipse itself. Because the eclipse shows you the truth. The integration window is where you decide what to do with it. And what you do in the next 3 days, today, tomorrow, Thursday, will shape how the rest of March unfolds. Most astrology channels will move on to the next transit tomorrow. I am staying here, because this is the part that matters most. Yesterday, the moon vanished behind the Earth's shadow. If you felt it, a jolt, a dream, a crack in something you thought was solid, you were right to feel it. If you felt nothing, watch what surfaces today. Eclipses do not always announce themselves in the moment. Sometimes they work on a delay. The truth the eclipse illuminated may not have arrived as a thunderclap. It may arrive as a quiet sentence in a conversation this afternoon. A realization that lands while you are pouring coffee. A name that appears in your inbox that changes the shape of the day. Let me paint the full picture of what is happening right now. The eclipse completed at 3:33 in the morning Pacific time. The moon has moved past the Earth's shadow and returned to full light in Virgo. But the nodal axis is still active. The lunar nodes, those mathematical points where the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic, are still holding the Virgo-Pisces axis in tension. This tension does not dissipate in an hour. It radiates outward for days. Mercury is retrograde in Pisces, day 7, deepening. The retrograde began as a surface disruption, missed texts and crossed wires. By day 7, it has descended into the interior. The revisions are no longer about schedules. They are about identity. About the stories you tell yourself that have stopped being true. Venus is deepening in Pisces, day 3. Her dissolving quality, the warmth without walls that I described on Sunday, is intensifying. Emotional permeability is high. You are absorbing everything right now, including things that are not yours to carry. Be aware of that. And Saturn and Neptune are 16 days from their conjunction at 0 Aries. The most significant planetary alignment in 36 years continues to build pressure in the background, like tectonic plates that have not yet shifted, but will. The cosmic weather is not calming down. It is integrating. The difference matters. Calming down means the event is over. Integrating means the event is being absorbed into the structure of your life. Think of it this way. The eclipse was the surgery. The next 72 hours are the recovery room. You do not leave the recovery room and immediately run a marathon. You lie still. You let the body process what happened. You follow the instructions. Here are the instructions. The 72-hour post-eclipse window has 3 phases. They are not sharp divisions. They bleed into each other. But understanding the rhythm helps you navigate without resistance. Phase 1. Recognition. Hours 0 through 24. This is today. The instruction is simple. Name what was revealed. Do not analyze it yet. Do not fix it. Do not call your therapist or your ex or your boss. Just name it. The eclipse showed you something. Maybe it showed you a relationship that has been running on autopilot. Maybe it showed you a career path that looks impressive but feels hollow. Maybe it showed you your own exhaustion, hidden beneath layers of competence. Whatever it showed you, today's job is to say it out loud, to yourself, in a journal, to someone you trust. Here's what that actually looks like. You sit down with a piece of paper and write one sentence that starts with, "What I now see clearly is." Do not overthink the sentence. The first version is usually the truest version. Phase 2, release. Hours 24 through 48. Tomorrow and Thursday morning. Once you have named what was revealed, the second phase is to begin releasing what no longer fits. This is not dramatic. You are not burning bridges or quitting jobs or ending relationships in a single afternoon. Release in the post-eclipse window looks like setting something down. A belief you were carrying that you now see was never yours to begin with. An obligation you said yes to from guilt, not desire. A version of yourself that you have outgrown but keep performing because it is familiar and because the people around you are comfortable with it. The release does not have to be visible to anyone but you. It can happen entirely inside. The moment you decide you no longer have to hold something is the moment it begins to dissolve. You do not need permission from another person. You do not need a sign from the cosmos. The eclipse was the sign. Your recognition was the permission. Phase 3, first step. Hours 48 through 72, Thursday afternoon through Friday morning. This is where the integration becomes active. Not a leap, a step. One small, concrete, deliberate action that aligns with what you recognized and released. If the eclipse showed you a stale routine, the first step might be changing one element of your morning. If it showed you an imbalance in a relationship, the first step might be one honest sentence in a conversation you have been choreographing. If it showed you a creative impulse you have been suppressing, the first step might be 30 minutes with a blank page and no agenda. The key distinction is this. The first step is not about solving the problem the eclipse revealed. It is about proving to yourself that you are willing to move in a new direction. The step says to your nervous system, the old pattern is not mandatory. There is another way to stand. The step does not need to be large. It needs to be real. It needs to come from the truth the eclipse revealed, not from the story you were telling before the shadow fell. Now here is what not to do in this window. This is equally important, and this is the part most astrology channels skip entirely. Do not make irreversible decisions in the first 48 hours. The truth the eclipse revealed is real. Your interpretation of that truth is still forming. Mercury is retrograde. Your mind is revising the revision. The emotional field is still raw from Venus and Pisces dissolving every boundary you have. This is the window for clarity, not for action at scale. Do not send the email that dismantles something. Do not sign the papers. Do not have the conversation you cannot take back. Do not quit. Do not propose. Do not delete the number. Do not move. Sit with the knowing. Let the knowing mature. There is a difference between seeing a truth and understanding what to do with it. The eclipse gave you the seeing. The understanding takes longer. And rushing from seeing to action without the understanding in between is how people make eclipse season decisions they spend the rest of the year recovering from. By the time Mercury stations direct on March 20th, the same day Saturn and Neptune conjoin, the full picture will be available. Between now and then, your job is to gather information, not to execute. Feel everything. Decide nothing permanent. Move slowly. Trust the process. Sit with that for a moment. This is the part where the popular astrology fails you. Most channels treat eclipses as events. Something happens, they tell you about it, they move to the next transit. But eclipses are not events. They are thresholds. You cross a threshold, and then you walk through a corridor. The corridor is the integration window, and the corridor is where the real change happens, not in the doorway, in the walk. Every step you take in the next 72 hours is laying track for what comes next. And what comes next is significant. On March 7th, Mercury makes its closest approach to the Sun, the cazimi. In traditional astrology, cazimi is a precise term. It means the planet is within 17 minutes of arc from the exact center of the Sun. Not just close, inside the Sun's heart. And in that brief window, the planet that has been retrograde, foggy, turned inward for weeks, is suddenly illuminated from the inside. The confusion burns away. The noise becomes signal. The message of the entire retrograde crystallizes in a single insight. Astrologers throughout history have considered cazimi the most powerful and lucid moment in any planetary cycle. It is the moment of maximum truth. And on March 20th, when Mercury is in cazimi, you will see the eclipse. The eclipse showed you the truth. The integration window lets you absorb it. The cazimi will tell you exactly what it means. And on March 20th, when Mercury stations direct on the same day Saturn and Neptune fuse at 0 Aries, you will have the full picture and the clear mind to act on it. This is architecture. This is not random. You are inside a designed sequence, and we are walking through it together. Now, this integration lands differently for every chart, and because this is a practical guide, I am giving you 2 actions per sign, not suggestions. Actions, specific, concrete, doable in the next 72 hours. Aries. The eclipse was in your 6th house. Something about your daily structure, your health, or your workload was revealed. First action, start nothing new. Sit with the impulse. If it survives 72 hours without dimming, it is real. If it fades, it was adrenaline. Second action. Cancel or postpone one commitment this week that you said yes to from reflex. The space it creates is the integration. Taurus, your 5th house. Something creative, romantic, or joyful was illuminated. First action. Return to something you abandoned. A project, a person, a pleasure you denied yourself. Look at it for 10 minutes without judging. Second action. Do one thing today purely for enjoyment. No productivity, no justification, just pleasure. Let it be enough. Gemini, your 4th house, home and family. A truth about your foundation was revealed. First action. Have one honest conversation with a family member or roommate. Not the full conversation, one true sentence. Second action. Rearrange one element of your physical space. A shelf, a desk, a corner. The outer change mirrors the inner one. Cancer, your 3rd house, communication and daily exchanges. Something about how you speak or what you hear was revealed. First action. Write down the single most important thing you learned this week. One sentence. Pin it where you will see it tomorrow. Second action. Respond to one message you have been avoiding, not with a long explanation, with one honest reply. Leo, your 2nd house, money, and self-worth. The gap between what you give and what you receive was exposed. First action. Ask someone you trust one question about what you are worth. Not what you charge, what you are worth. Listen without correcting. Second action. Identify one expense that no longer reflects your values. Do not cancel it yet. Just mark it. Awareness is the first action. Virgo. The eclipse was in your first house. This was your eclipse. The revelation was about you. First action. The thing you have been perfecting, the project, the relationship, the version of yourself that handles everything. Stop perfecting it for 72 hours. Let the imperfect version breathe. Second action. Ask one person what they see when they look at you. Not what you show them, what they actually see. Receive the answer without managing it. Libra, your 12th house, the unconscious. Something hidden was revealed, possibly in a dream or a sudden knowing. First action. Write down whatever surfaced, even if it makes no logical sense. Do not edit it. Do not explain it. Second action. Spend 30 minutes alone tomorrow. Not scrolling, not producing. Alone with whatever the eclipse stirred. Let it settle. Scorpio, your 11th house, community and future vision. A truth about a group or a friendship was illuminated. First action. Name the friendship or group dynamic that feels imbalanced. Say the name out loud. Acknowledgement is the first step toward change. Second action. Reach out to one person who represents the future you actually want, not the future you inherited, the one you choose. Sagittarius, your 10th house, career and public life. Something about your professional direction became clear. First action. If no one were watching and no paycheck depended on it, write down what you would choose. One sentence. Keep it. Second action. Take one step toward that sentence. A search, a conversation, a question asked in the right direction. It does not need to be a leap. It needs to be honest. Capricorn, your 9th house, beliefs and philosophy. A conviction was shaken or clarified. First action. Cancel one obligation this week, not because you are overwhelmed, because the space it creates is where the new understanding lands. Second action. Read something you would not normally read, a perspective you have avoided. Let it sit without agreeing or disagreeing. Aquarius, your 8th house, intimacy and invisible contracts. Something about an agreement between you and another person became visible. First action. Name the unspoken rule in one of your closest relationships. Write it down. Second action. Decide whether you want to keep that rule or renegotiate it. You do not need to act yet. You need to decide. Pisces, your 7th house, partnerships. Someone became clearer to you during the eclipse. First action. Look at them with the clarity the eclipse offered. Not who they were, not who you wish they would be, who they are. Second action. Tell them one thing you see that you have never said. Not to change them, to be honest. Honesty is the integration. The eclipse cracked the shell. Something spilled out. You can see it now. And the question is not what to do with it. Not yet. The question is, can you stay with it long enough to understand what it actually is? You are ready for this. even if it does not feel that way. The clarity is arriving. Mercury's cazimi on March 7th will crystallize the message. Between now and then, move slowly. Name what you see. Release what you have outgrown. Take one step. That is enough. And if something in these words gave you the permission you are waiting for, stay close. I will see you in the next one.